Hello, ladies and gents. It's Proclamation News and Governs. We're live again today. It's Saturday, the 24th of April, 2021. Thank you all for coming through and supporting the show. It means a lot to me. It really does. Thank you ever so much for coming and supporting Prince. We're live. We're going to be on for about an hour, which we're going to be starting fully at 12 o'clock. We've got 4 minutes till the official start time. Got lots. We've got more family updates. We've got UK politics. We're going to look at the ideology of what's going on in UK, dominion of the UK. Absolute provocation for us all. But stay on board, stay tuned. It's Proclamation News and Gathered at its finest hour. Thank you all so much. We need to share. We need to get more subscribers. Get more subscribers daily. I want to get more and more and more subscribers. We're going to build this platform. You wait. This is going to be a massive, massive generation over the next coming weeks. I'm paying to broadcast on all channels. Facebook, we're going to have messages coming in from every single channel very, very shortly. So stay with me. You loyal listeners, this is going to become magnificent. I did tell you when I started, I know I was a phenomenal speaker. You knew it as you're listening in, being a loyal listener. You're enjoying the show, being there every day. I said it's bona fide conservatism when I first started. It's genuine, it's traditional, and it is exactly what it says on the tin. Proclamation News and Gammons with the prodigious upon Professor Johnson. We're starting fully in 3 minutes, just having a short break with a catch up on LBC. Proclamation News and Gammons is going to be the new generation of broadcast coming daily. Thank you, everyone listening on Castbox. We are literally going live. Ladies and gents, we are live on air. Proclamation News and Gavin. What we've been waiting for. Thank you ever so much. Got weather updates for the coming week. Weather warnings. Weather's picking up. We've also got the new strain of coronavirus coming in through India. Uh, India and Brazil. I mean, as they're saying, COVID travel. So before long, it'll be over here. There's a lot of globalisation comes from India, as you know. We've got rice. A lot of our food gets shipped out to there as well. We have rice, the rice grain come from India. All the Indian foods, curries, we have clothes. So, you can't be off it. It's going to get over it. The COVID variant from India is going to be travelling from India to here one way or another. So, can't get away from it. So, I'm thinking soon maybe another lockdown. October. I think October we're going to be another lockdown. Maybe before. COVID is rising again in England. I haven't seen much of it, too much of it in the news, but I've heard stories and different constituents speaking to different people from different areas of England, different counties, Hertfordshire, i.e. Hertfordshire. My friend, as you know, comes online. We have a daily chat every now and then. He's coming back, I believe. He's coming on tomorrow on a live chat, and hopefully I can get it broadcasted on YouTube and Facebook eventually, and then LinkedIn. It's going to cost me £30 a month sponsor. We're going to get it aired everywhere, all over the place. We're going to get a lot of support coming in left, right, and centre. A lot of sponsors coming on board. Hopefully, this is going to be a force to be recognised. I said it when I first started. Proclamation News and Gavin. You know, you got tabloid, you got broadsheet. This is a broadsheet broadcaster, speaker, Tony speaker, Professor Johnson. Thank you all so much for coming through. We've got our May the 6th election coming up. Look at the ideology of what's going on in England. Criminal law. What could criminal law lie ahead of us? What could criminal law lie ahead of us? You've got people being stabbed, victims of domestic abuse. There's a lot of things, you know, domestic violence. A lot of things that can happen. People driving the vehicle under the influence of alcohol and narcotics. There's lots and lots of things that we could be looking at when it comes to talk about criminology. People burglaring houses, shops, children getting snatched off the street. That's been happening in Essex quite a bit just recently. So yeah, you know, it's so much to look forward to on Proclamation News and Gavin. To get this paedophile couple jailed after horrific abuse of an 8-year-old girl. We're going to have that as well coming up shortly. That's in the Essex Live. But firstly, I'll give you the weather updates before we move on. It's going to be an hour cast, so I hope you get on my artwork, enjoy my day. I want you guys to enjoy the weekend. Absolutely phenomenal. In my constituency of Essex, I am in Colchester. It's 12 degrees Celsius. Sunday and Monday. Sunday is 11. Monday is 10. Then we're picking up to 12 Tuesday and Thursday, and Wednesday is 11 degrees Celsius. In London, ladies and gents, if you're in London, you're listening on Castbox on my live TV. We haven't got so many watchers. We've got 100 watchers, people watching at the moment. It's not the end of the world. We don't mind. Today it's 15 degrees Celsius. Monday is 12 degrees Celsius in London. And then we've got Tuesday and Wednesday, we've got 15 and 12 on Thursday. Edinburgh constituency, Edinburgh, 13 degrees Celsius. Sunday and Monday is 14. Tuesday and Wednesday is dropping 9 and 8. 80% chance of rain on Tuesday. And then Thursday is 9 degrees Celsius. Belfast in Wales, Ireland. Today is 15 degrees Celsius. Sunday and Monday, 13 Sunday, 16 Monday. Tuesday and Wednesday is 10 degrees Celsius. 60% chance of rain on Thursday. Thank you all for listening. Give me the weather updates. What's lying ahead of us? 14 to 18 degrees Celsius today. It's going to rise up to 18 degrees Celsius in Belfast. 15 and 15 Sunday and Monday. Tuesday is 13 and Wednesday 12. And Thursday is 11 degrees Celsius in Cardiff. I'm going to Birmingham. Birmingham weather updates for you loyal listeners. It's nice to have the weather updates, isn't it? See what's lying ahead of you. We're taking the dog for a walk. You're going to plan a day out with your partner to the local country park, to the local zoo for a picnic by the lake, river. Now you know the weather updates. 14 degrees Celsius, rising to 16. It's in Birmingham. Sunday and Monday is 14 degrees. Tuesday and Wednesday is 12 and 11, and Thursday is 10 degrees Celsius. And that is in Birmingham. In Manchester, my lovely lot. In Manchester. In Manchester, it's 14 degrees Celsius, rising to 18. Sunday and Monday is 15, and Wednesday 11 and 10 degrees Celsius. Posey, how you doing? Thursday is 10 degrees Celsius in Manchester. How you doing there? You good? You very well? What are you up to today? What are you up to today? Glasgow. Shinizu, how you doing, buddy? Is anyone looking to become a broadcaster? Please let me know, ladies and gents. Any newcomers want to become a broadcaster? Do what I do. You know, I'm here daily doing the same thing. I'm keeping methodical. Thank you ever so much, Miss P. I appreciate you. Appreciate you so much. Guys, I've got a PK tonight, but don't sweat if you can't make it. I appreciate you if you can be there. If you can't, no problem. If you can't even give me, but just come there to say hello, no problem. I don't expect, um, I don't expect to be gifted, and just being there saying hello helps me get through the PK, talk on my own. I usually get a foreign person to speak to, and they can't speak English. That's usually quite hard. But I appreciate you all if you can. If not, no problem. Today, in Glasgow, Scotland, it's today and Sunday 17 degrees Celsius. Monday and Tuesday is 13 and 11. Wednesday and Thursday 10 and 11 degrees Celsius. I'm giving you the weather updates to what lies ahead. What can you do with your partner or your children or your mother, father? You want to take them out for a day out. You now get the weather updates. You know what to do. What are you guys up to today? You up to anything nice? You going anywhere? Sun? It's quite sunny outside. I don't know. I think the weather's going to be 14 degrees Celsius where I'm in Essex. Rising up to 14. I think it's about 12 degrees Celsius now. It's 19 degrees. Liverpool. Anyone from Liverpool? This is kind of up near where you are, Posey. So this is giving you the weather update for the week. Gives you what's lying ahead of us. 19 degrees Celsius today. Sunday and Tuesday and Wednesday 12 and 11, and Thursday is 11 degrees Celsius. So what, I do this methodically every day just to get my hours done, and I do Castbox and YouTube anyway, so keeping myself busy. What about you, Mr. Prince? I haven't got it dry, I'm afraid, but I know it's going to be about 90 degrees Celsius over there. It's always hot. You probably get attacked by a rattlesnake and a kangaroo. I'm only joking, buddy. I'm only joking. Yeah, that is hot. That is hot for us. Yeah, our summer is like your worst weather in the winter. England's too cold. I was in town. Was it last weekend? My mum. It must have been 18 degrees Celsius. I was freezing, absolutely freezing. I had a tracksuit on. 18 degrees Celsius. It's quite amicably warm in the UK, but I was freezing. Absolutely freezing. Anyway, Proclamation News is sponsored by PSS Alarms. PSS Alarms. Very ethical and pragmatic works carried out. All we have is covered including central station monitored provided, all work done according to insurance requirements. Hello, Coles. How you doing there, my dear? How's your streaming going? You enjoying it? This is a friend of mine's company. He's carried out works in Harry Kane's stepmother's house, which I was there. It's in Potter's Bar. The house had absolute acres of land, a boxing stadium in the back garden, a football pitch in the back garden. His name is Tariq Khan. I don't know if he's in relation to Sadiq Khan, mate, perhaps, never know, or Amir Khan could be. He's at how do you say it? He's from that same sort of constituency as the Khans. 07908 216 142 is Tariq Khan number. 07908 216 142. Installation and maintenance of intruder alarms, fire alarms, and CCTV. All works guaranteed and certified to SSAIB standards. 24-hour call-out service. Can provide CCTV for pubs, clubs, restaurants, or new business setup. Secure your business. Secure your home. Mention Professor Johnson for an extra discount. Your safety and priorities within your business and household are paramount, so think safety, think first. Secure your everything. If you've got children at home and you want to leave a bit of a legacy for the kids when you pass away, it's always good to get your house secured. Get your belongings secured. I am on my way there, my dear, and I was just giving my one of my friends that's supposed to give me a sponsor. Give him a shout out over the way there. I'm on Castbox YouTube, but this is my main thing. Obviously, this is my bread and butter for what I'm doing now. But I just keep it methodical. It's what I do every day, so I might just carry on doing it. Just reading out the news. Looking at the ideology of what's going on in the UK. I like to keep up with the royal family because my granddad and cousin were Grenadier Guards. It's just all the listeners on Castbox can be driving to work, so I'm giving them something to listen to. I've got only 17 listeners on there, but I do it every day. Like one of the top radio presenters on there. I've done media studies when I was 15. Obviously, I'm studying arts and humanities now in university, and it's the route I want to go. A bit of journalism, live journalism, speaking it out for people that don't like reading the newspaper. They're driving to work or that work, they were headphones in their ears and they're listening. Greensill nonsense to claim Greensill was desperate, says David Cameron. Greensill. David Cameron has rejected Labour's claim that Greensill Capital was carrying the begging bowl when he asked the ministers and officials for access to the government-backed loans. I'm not a great fan of David Cameron, if I'm quite honest. The ex-Prime Minister said it was nonsense to say the firm had been in difficulty when he lobbied on its behalf. Greensill had not requested direct support in any way, he added, but Labour said the company, which later collapsed, has been desperate for access to taxpayer money. Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer. What do you think of Sir Keir Starmer? Sir Keir Starmer let off Jimmy Savile. Now, I don't know if it is to do with a lot of people say it's to do with Sir Keir Starmer, but some people say it's to do with Margaret Thatcher as well. I don't like Sir Keir Starmer, but that's my opinion. Some people are Labour supporters and might like him. It's probably better than Jeremy Corbyn, I know that much. It's been revealed that Tech's Chancellor Rishi Sunak and top Treasury official Sir Tom Schooler early last year over the access to government-backed loans for business and suffering in the pandemic. On Thursday, the Treasury released 40 pages of messages relating to its contact with Mr Cameron and the Greensill and the Bank of England, he said to Mr Cameron, contacted him multiple times. In June last year, Greensill was accredited as a leader to the mid-size and larger firms under coronavirus large business interruption loan scheme. Which boys? These boys, the ones listening in. They never listen in, do they? I know. We've got May the 6th general election coming up, guys. You need to get yourself educated in politics or who to vote for, what's going on. How's the ideology of your children's welfare and society when they grow up without knowing what's going on in the UK today? You don't have to listen to me, there's other radio channels like LBC. But seeing them on Up Live and we're all friends, no reason why you can't listen in here. I do post my YouTube channel in the tele. Now, my desktop is above my phone. My camera's up there. I'm looking at the screen. But I appreciate you guys. I might have to add some Australian politics in for my mate Prince. So I'm in the UK. It's not very good for him over me talking about UK politics. I don't know anything about Australian politics or what's going on in globalisation over there, if I'm totally honest. Thank you, Miss B. It was desperate for access to taxpayer money, and the government granted it access by credit to the CL Bill scheme in June. Thank you, Miss B. I appreciate you, mate, so much. She added that Mr. Sunak and Treasury had done nothing when they are aware Greensill was deep in the red 3 months earlier. If people don't know what's because I'm conservative. Through my granddad, he's dead now. He's in World War II under Winston Churchill. And that's the reason why I'm conservative. It's tradition, isn't it, to fight your family's legacy. So that's why I'm conservative. But also neoliberalism with conservative. Farm to sell conservative government, go campaigning. Neoliberalism is a big part of conservative government, a fair trade system. I know you see politicians, Boris probably taking something like £200,000 a year home. A lot more of the likes of me and you earn, but a lot less than what a professional boxer or footballer will earn. They've got our lives in their hands, basically. So, there's not a massive pay bracket compared to some people, but they've got our lives in our hands. And if you go to Parliament, I don't know if you guys have been there listening in to what goes on in Parliament, it is very, very aristocracy. When I say aristocracy kind of people, very professional. I enjoy it. For Labour's shadow chancellor Anna Leslie-Dodds said, "We need to follow the money Greensill was carrying to the begging bowl from the Bank of England to the Treasury and back. It was desperate for access to taxpayer money, and the government granted that access by accrediting in the CL Bills scheme in June. She added that Mr. Snack and Treasury had done nothing when they were aware Greensill was deep in the red 3 months earlier. Mr. Cameron lobbied in terms of the separate COVID cooperation financing facility scheme to be changed so that Greensill could take part, which was rejected. Take care. Oh, what am I reading? I'm reading on my thingy. I just open up all the broadsheet newspaper casts on the internet, which is on my YouTube. You know what I mean? That's how I do my news, and I emphasise what I believe is right. The Treasury letter, I'm not emphasising anything at the moment, I'm reading dictating what's in front of me at the moment. The Treasury letter rejecting the proposal in June makes clear that Greensill reported the market conditions were improving, added, so that the idea that Greensill was in difficulty at the stage is nonsense. Speaking in visit to Hartlepool, Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer said Mr. Cameron had lobbied anybody who applied to him. He added that it wasn't just David Cameron, and that it was increasingly obvious Prime Minister Boris Johnson had been involved in this action. 3 MPs led inquiries, and a lawyer led government review after looking at Mr. Cameron's work for Greensill, which fell into administration in March last year, with the loss of 440 jobs. This is my microphone that goes onto my desktop, onto my YouTube. Speaking to the visit, Hartlepool leader Sir Keir Starmer said Mr. Cameron had lobbied anybody who replied to him. He added that it wasn't just David Cameron, and that it is increasingly obvious Prime Minister Boris Johnson had been involved in the action. 3 MP-led inquiries and a lawyer-led government review are looking at Mr. Cameron's work for Greensill, which led into administration in March this year, with loss of 440 jobs. The former Conservative leader, who started working for the company as an advisor 2 years after leaving Downing Street, has insisted he broke no lobbying rules, but accepted he should have contacted ministers using more formal channels. Yeah, no worries. Thank you, Prince. I appreciate it, buddy. We've got some royal family updates. Seeing what's going on with the royal family. I like reading about the royal family. What's going on with Meghan Markle and Harry? Really blame Northern Ireland recently by Brexit, blaming the provenance complex problems on Brits exercising their democratic rights, completely ignoring years of terror and divisions. Anyone ever thought about the Great Maze Escape? Great Maze Escape was in Belfast. Northern Ireland ain't part of Brexit. Northern Ireland are part of the EU now. I've thought about this, and I don't say it too much because I like Irish people, and I've probably got a lot of friends from Northern Ireland. But did 1983, the Great Maze Escape prison, where 37 escaped Great Maze Escape prison, which I know because I read all the time. I read books upon books, in my study. I've been reading constitutional law, family law. I've been reading all kinds of books just to get, I want to be, when I'm a speaker, I need to know what I'm talking about. When Northern Ireland are now part of the EU, did they come out of the EU because of the IRA in 1983? Did they come out of the EU because in 1983? They're now, they were part, did they go into the EU, out of the Brexit into the EU because of what happened in 1983? IRA, obviously 37 prisoners escaped Great Maze Escape prison, and it's all over the media. You don't know their reasoning why they got put in prison. You don't know what their ideology was of the IRA. What was they trying to, prove? Maybe prove a point, and they got put in prison. And obviously they got in the prison with 2 handguns and a 7-inch blade. They put one of the screws in a pool of blood. I know that much because I read the constitutional law book. And in the constitutional law book, the last person to be electrocuted in England was James Hanratty. So what? That's a very, very peculiar story about James Hanratty and the last murder he done on Bedford Hill. Bedford Hill, right? My first ever car my dad bought me. I had a Volkswagen Polo. I was driving to Basildon, believe it or not. I ended up just past Watford. No, just before Watford. And guess what? Just before Watford, where my car broke down. my cam belt snapped, and when the cam belt snapped, the whole engine stopped. My car stopped on a lay-by at Bedford Hill. What are the chances? I was reading a book in 2019, reading that, obviously, James Hanratty, the last British gangster to be sacrificed on an electric chair. I could not believe it. I rang my dad up. I said, guess what, Dad? That last person that's executed, the English gangster James Hanratty, what he done is he kidnapped husband and wife's car. He shot the husband in the head and raped his wife and stole the car, got put in prison. He got found guilty, and then he got electrocuted in a chair. Absolutely horrific news. You can check it on Google. I'm not even lying to you. James Hanratty, Bedford Hill, just before Watford, exactly where my car broke down. I don't know if it was 1983, I can't remember. Might have been a bit before that, I can't remember. But if you have a look, I'll tell you what, I know when it knowledge. I am like a Guinness Book of Records when it comes to knowledge. I'm telling you that, I am phenomenal. My brain is like a sponge. When I read a book, I remember everything. I was even reading Cleopatra book last year. She was the Queen of Egypt and a slave of Rome. 30 years before Christ she died, age 39. She got stung by a python and it killed her. She used to like pythons. She had pythons as pets. She used to wear like a python, like a crown sphere thing on her head. Anyway, that's before Christ. I'm one of those people. I'm a realist. I don't believe it until I see it. You don't know what happened before Christ. You don't know what happened when Christ was about. We read the Bible, but we wasn't there when he was here. Who wrote the Bible? That's how I say it. Who wrote the Cleopatra story? We don't know what actually happened. But I do know she had a son called Caesarion. Julius, was it? Julius Caesar. That's it, Julius Caesar, I think. She's married to Caesar, isn't she? And she was married to Mark Antony, his best mate, after he died. In 1998, her husband, Bill Clinton, was instrumental in getting the Republican and Union sides to sign the Good Friday Agreement, which helped bring peace to Northern Ireland. Hi there, Butte. How you doing? Ms. Clinton said that Joe Biden's administration remains committed to this after cities, including Belfast, saw the worst rioting for decades in recent weeks. She said, when I was Secretary of State, I even had an envoy committed to economic activity that could create more jobs for people of Northern Ireland. This is a very deep sense of connection with Northern Ireland, and I know that Biden administration, the people who aren't in it, will be very attuned to what's happening there. So that makes me wonder with the Northern Ireland, why are they part of Brexit? Why are they part of the EU and not with Brexit? Is it because of the Great Mates Escape Prison? Quite possibly. I don't want to, obviously, you don't want to publicise that worldwide because it might come across a bit fascist, but I sort of can because my father and his brothers were English and explained things. Meghan Markle's claims debunked by in the monarchy, and such many of them are eligible for state-funded security to keep them safe. Royals will also receive taxpayer-funded security when completing royal engagements. Said she was concerned that Archie was not going to have the HRH status, and this would mean he was not going to be given full-time security. She also is prepared to take his lack of HRH status as a slight because he was the first person of colour to be born in royal family, even though he was never entitled to that rank according to letters patent, which dictates him who is prince or princess. Meghan told Oprah they were saying they didn't want him to be a prince or princess, not knowing what the gender would be, which would be different from protocol, and that he wasn't going to receive security. She added, he does that work. It's like, no, look, because if he's not going to be a prince, it's like, okay, well, he needs to be safe. So we're not saying don't make him a prince or princess, whatever it's going to be. But if you're saying the title is what's going to attend that protection, We haven't created this monster machine around us in terms of clickbait and tabloid fodder. You've allowed that to happen, which means our son needs to be safe. Can you blame their decision? Can you blame Meghan Markle's decision with Prince Harry? Absolutely, you cannot. You can't blame Prince Harry for wanting to support his wife, because what sort of a husband would Prince Harry be if he didn't like her decision? Or was it both their decision? None of us know. Dominic Cummings, number 10, defends Boris Johnson after former aide blog post. Downing Street has defended Boris Johnson's conduct after former top advisor Dominic Cummings questioned the PM's competence and integrity. Once his closest ally, Mr. Cummings made a string of allegations about the Prime Minister's behaviour in a blog post. The former aide denied leaking text messages relating to the Dyson affair and alleged the PM had tried to quash an inquiry into COVID leaks from number 10. Number 10 said ministers always obeyed codes and conduct on electoral law. Mr. Cummings was forced out of his Downing Street role at the end of last year following an internal power struggle. One government minister described Mr. Cummings as disgruntled and discredited following his departure. We don't know, none of us know what happened behind Mr. Cummings. What I believe he's probably doing, he's probably looking into too much graphic details about maybe the COVID restrictions. He's probably, trying to get the leaked. When we go into the tier system, he's probably looking into the leaked details of that and probably breaking rules, going back, telling people. We don't know what happened. Literally don't know. Maybe he's talking about the payroll within different politicians. We don't know what's happening behind closed doors. But that's what we don't even think of. What was Dominic Cummings doing to get kicked the boot out of the Conservative office? On Friday, in his first blog post since leaving his role, Mr. Cummings denied leaking text messages sent between Mr. Johnson and businessman Sir James Dyson, denied leaking details of the second coronavirus lockdown in England in November, alleged Mr. Johnson had considered trying to block the inquiry into leak in case it involved a friend of his fiancée, Carrie Simmons, a claim rejected by number 10. I mean, I'm coming out with the odds at the top of my head, and they're usually not far wrong. And as we read on, we're finding out they're not far wrong. Claimed the Prime Minister once had possibly illegal plans for donor to pay for renovations of his Downing Street flats. This is an explosive intervention from a man Boris Johnson used to count on as one of his closest allies. And if you're tempted to roll your eyes and think it's just sour grapes from a jilted advisor, think again. Dominic Cummings' blog is proof that he's willing to lift the lid on his time at the heart of Downing Street, regardless of how it reflects the Prime Minister. Beyond his denial of leaking text messages, he has also given his version of events relating to the two potential political weak spots for Boris Johnson. There are questions over financing of the renovation of the Downing Street flat and the leaking of a plan to impose a lockdown. The level of detail shows that Mr. Cummings is willing to expose others while defending himself and lay bare the inner workings of number 10. The text exchange between the Prime Minister and Sir James occurred in March last year, after the government asked companies to help build thousands of ventilators needed for the pandemic response. In it, the Prime Minister agreed to fix concerns the businessmen had about tax bills for the Singapore-based staff if they moved to the UK to do this. Several newspapers ran front-page stories suggesting Mr. Cummings was the source of leaked messages between Mr. Johnson and Sir James. First reported this week by the BBC. BBC, whose political editor, Lorne Grensberg, first reported a text message on Tuesday, said it did not discuss the sources of stories. Number 10 has launched an inquiry into who leaked the text messages. Asked whether he blamed his former advisor for the leak, Mr. Johnson said, "I don't think people give a monkeys, to be frank, and who is breathing what to who." In his blog, Mr. Cummings writes, "It's not directly or indirectly a source for BBC Grensberg's story on the Prime Minister's Dyson text," he added. I'm happy to meet with the Cabinet Secretary and for him to search my phone for Dyson messages. Mr. Cummings continued that he was happy for number 10 to publish every email I received and sent July 2019 and November 2020. He also called for an urgent parliamentary inquiry into the government's conduct over the coronavirus crisis, adding that he thought Mr. Johnson had fallen far below the standards of competence the country deserves. Mr. Cummings promised to answer questions about any issues when he appears before a parliamentary inquiry into the government's pandemic response on the 26th of May. The flat rail. In his blog, Mr. Cummings also claimed the Prime Minister once planned to have donors secretly pay for renovation of the official Downing Street flat. Like several of his recent predecessors, Mr. Johnson lived in a flat above number 11 Downing Street, which is larger than the one above number 10. He added that Mr. Johnson stopped speaking to me about the matter in 2020, as he told him the renovation plans were unethical, foolish, possibly illegal, and almost certainly broke the rules on proper disclosure of political donations if conducted in the way he intended. Mr. Cummings said he would be happy to tell Cabinet Secretary Simon Case of the Electoral Commission what he knew about the matter, but that his knowledge is limited. In response to Mr. Cummings' claim, the number 10 spokesman said, at all times the government and ministers have acted in accordance with the appropriate codes of conduct and electoral law. Cabinet Office officials have engaged and informed throughout, and official advice has been followed. All reportable donations are transparently declared and published either by the Electoral Commission or the House of Commons Register. In the line of requirements set out in electoral law, gifts and benefits received in a ministerial capacity are and will continue to be declared in transparency terms. On Friday, government said that the cost of the wider refurbishment in last year has been met by the Prime Minister's person, vacuum and integrity. Labour has called for a full investigation into the issue. Shadow Communities Secretary Steve Reid told the BBC Radio 4's Today programme we're calling for the government to publish any correspondence related to payments or donations around refurbishments. We need to know what the full amount was that was spent, and we need to know who paid for the work in the first place that the Prime Minister now proposes to reimburse. Former Attorney General Sir Dominic Cummings said the issue was just one illustration of the chaos Mr. Johnson seemed to bring in his wake. And the reason for that is because the vacuum of the integrity, he told the programme. Former Conservative MP, who was expelled from the parliamentary party by Mr. Johnson in 2019, rebelling against him in a Brexit vote, also described his government as a cronyistic cable. Lockdown leak. Mr. Cummings also denied being the source of the leak ahead of the second coronavirus lockdown in November, which saw details of the plan for new restrictions appear in several newspapers. In his blog, he said an inquiry at the time found that neither he or the other then Downing Street Director of Communications, Lee Kane, had been responsible. He added that the events around the inquiry contributed to his decision to stick to his plan to leave number 10 by 18th of December, which he said were communicated to the Prime Minister in July. Mr. Cummings also claimed Mr. Johnson had considered stopping the inquiry. He wrote that he recalled a meeting between Mr. Johnson and the Cabinet Secretary at the time, and after the inquiry had been launched, at which the Cabinet Secretary allegedly said all the evidence definitely leads to Henry Newham and others in that office. At the time, Mr. Newham was speaking to an advisor at the Cabinet Office. He took up the role of Downing Street earlier this year. Mr. Cummings claimed that in the conversation he had with the Prime Minister afterwards, Boris Johnson said, if Newham is confirmed as the leaker, then I will have to fire him. After this will cause me a very suspicious problem with Carrie Symonds, the Prime Minister's fiancée, as their best friend. Because perhaps we would get the Cabinet Secretary to stop the leak inquiry. In response to Mr. Cummings' claims, it Downing Street statement said the Prime Minister has never interfered in a government leak inquiry, and a senior government official said the allegations against Harry Newham are entirely false. He wouldn't be working Downing Street if he was suspected of the leaked information. What we, we're campaigning, me and my friend, we're campaigning about knife crime. Hello, Farshid. Hello, Johnson and Johnson. How you doing, buddy? Nice to see you. Nice to see you. Thank you for coming through. More provocation. We're saying, it takes a Muppet to pick up a knife. Muppets carry weapons. Always a provocation arising in the daily news. This is the ideology of the youth for today. A boy stabbed to death in Newham, in East London. The 14-year-old boy has been stabbed to death in East London. Met police officers who are treating the case as murder were called to Barking Road in Canning Town, Newham, at about 4 p.m. on Friday. The teenager was confirmed dead at the scene, and officers are trying to find and tell his family. The crime scene cordoned in the place, and there will be an increased police presence in the area. The Met said no arrests have yet been made. Despite the efforts of paramedics and the London Ambulance Service, a London air ambulance, the victim was pronounced dead shortly after 4:30 p.m. So you're just trying to investigate the situation without looking at any more qualitative evidence. We use our ideology of our heads. Someone's been stabbed at 4:30, a 14-year-old lad, possibly come out of school or school club, walking home from school, possibly had an argument with a group of lads at school. And then a group of lads took a knife to school to take the kid's life. What a coward way to go out. He took a life and he's in life in prison. He probably won't get life because he's a minor, but possibly a minor. We don't know. Could have been an adult. I don't know. We don't know. Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, said he was deeply saddened by the killing, adding, "I'm in touch with the Deputy Met Commissioner, and my thoughts are with the victim's family and friends." He urged witnesses to come forward, saying this appalling incident happened on a busy street in broad daylight. Disgusting. So if you saw or know anything, then please don't stay silent. Anyone with any information is urged to contact the force on 101. Call Crime Stoppers on be anonymous and in the details of these juveniles today. It's shocking, absolutely shocking. Stay tuned, guys. I'm going to go on my Twitter. I'm posting some on Twitter. I'm going to give you my Twitter account as well, guys, so you can follow our journey on Twitter as well. Your listeners. Proclamation News and Governments, we are on Twitter. We are on Twitter, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate you guys. It's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Really is disgusting. You for today. Why would you pick up a blade and kill? Bear with me a couple of seconds, guys. A short break. We've got a couple more segments that I want to get through. We've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've done about 5 or 6, ladies and gents. So, I always do a nice little show. Keep you guys entertained. You've got to appreciate the hard effort I put in daily. It's not just something that comes about once in a blue moon. It's just coming 5 or 6 days a week. I don't get a holiday. I don't get a break each and every day. I have to work hard for what I do, believe me. You wouldn't understand how hard I have to work to do what I'm doing. To provide you with the good news. I'm going to start making a few quid, and we're going to start enjoying ourselves, absolutely. My artwork's going to be published. We're going to start earning some money. I'm going to start helping the local community, educate kids, do what I can to support the Dominion, get kids out of trouble. That's what we need to do.
January the 6th, man, has spawned a whole new one. And actually, it wasn't an attack by the right at all on the capital. It was actually a false flag operation by the far left. That it was Antifa protesters who were actually behind the storming. Now, that might sound preposterous to you and me, absurd to me in particular, because I was there and realised it wasn't anything like that. But that is a theory that is now gaining real traction. And you can combining with the fact that, these gun shops across the United States are now having an incredible run on weapons and ammo, and the online sort of toxicity that's out there, and you realise why the FBI is so deeply alarmed.
This may sound like an alarmist question, and we talked about it quite a lot in Washington at the time of the election, and then it's obviously disappeared a bit because the drama has gone out to the surface of it, at least. But do you think that America, at some stage in the next 5 years, 10 years, could experience civil conflict, another civil war?
My own view is that America, we've seen that, sort of great depression and three or four civil rights movements. I hear through the 60s and beyond, the research that's over the summer, very often America, when it's starting to go here, skill sets, they would avoid others. So, I think it's always a multiple solution out this sort of conflict. It's not brewing it. And so far, I think that this war running it for so long is now become something almost, the deep system is a battle about truth, the narrative. Now, it's no longer, is there justice, injustice? It's now actually playing out. It's happened with the medial tech is alleging. So it's a sort of profound suspicion of the very narrative of events. And when truth is debated, you realise that the country is in some trouble. So I think there is concern. And, I spoke to a gun store owner down in Florida, near one of the extremist camps where we filmed, and he was puzzled himself. He says, look, I'm selling hundreds of thousands of rounds of ammunition every month. I'm selling weapons faster than I can buy them. Something is going on, and I don't know what, he said to me. So, look, there's lots of reasons to be alarmist about it, Matt, as you and I have reported in this country for so many years, but also, we should never forget that America is capable of solving even very sort of deep-seated problems.
Well, as Bill Clinton famously once said, everything that is wrong with America can be fixed by everything that is right with America. I just wonder whether that's still the case. Let's just listen into one of the clips of your documentary, and then we'll carry on chatting.
Listen to these charges: civil disorder, obstruction, aiding and abetting, destruction of government property, entering a restricted building, disorderly, disruptive conduct, acts of physical violence. All those narrative. All those are charges you were facing. Narrative. They want people to pay. They're throwing a bunch of crap against the wall and seeing how much it'll stick. Are you frightened it's going to stick to you? Are you frightened, in other words, of going to jail? No, I'm not. For what? Walking in a building? Was I really in a prison for walking in a building? Come on.
Just explain, Robert, what was going on there.
This is exactly as we're talking about when we talk about the battle for truth. That was Josh Pruitt. Now,
We're going to get through the segment later. I've got stuff to do, so thank you all for coming through. The Frexit leaks, we just had that. Oprah Winfrey, what is she? Shocked by the royal revelations. Shocked by the royal revelations. Oprah Winfrey shocked by the royal revelations. Oprah Winfrey was shocked that the Duke and Duchess of Sussex were so open in their interview with her. Couple who moved to California with their son Archie spoke to Oprah last month for a bombshell interview in which they made a number of shocking claims on Nancy O'Dell's channel. On Talk Shop Live, where she was promoting her book, What Happened to You? Conversation on trauma was said here that it would have been reverberating impact it has had and continues to have. I did a lot of preparation for that. Do you really think the royals be royal bases? They're in England. They're living in the centre of London, in Buckinghamshire Palace. They've probably got coloured guards, grenadier guards guarding their palace. Do you think they're racist? Really? I don't. I think it's a bit traumatic. They're probably asking for a paycheck because they're no longer part of the royal family. It's probably a Crimea River. Let's please support me some more to have a free welfare, free society. I was shocked when Meghan said that royal members had conversation with Harry and how dark Archie's skin might be when he was born. I'm like, what? You're going there. You're going all the way there. Oprah 67 admitted Many of the revelations made by Prince Harry and Duchess Meghan came as a surprise to her, as she had not discussed details with them before. I have a conversation with them before. I didn't see Harry or Meghan before, but I did text them and say, intention is very important to me. To me, what your intention is, so that we can be aligned in our goal. And our shared intention was the truth. They wanted to be able to tell their story and tell it in such a way that allowed them to be as truthful as possible. The reason why is was such a powerful interview. First of all, I know how to ask questions, but what makes it powerful is when you have someone else who is willing to be as open, as vulnerable, as truthful as they were. I mean, they feel, you know, talking as a psychologically perspective, they feel like they've been outcasted out of all family because they have a black Archie, quarter caste Archie. You know, he's basically my tone. Well, in the sun, my tone. So they got a dark baby. They got a dark skinned baby, and they're worried what people will think. They're worried that the royal family are racist. They're worried that they're no longer a part of the royal family because of that. No, I don't think so. I think it's more of a they've got a chance to get away and they've got a chance to make an uproar, cry, and some support for them. I do like Harry and I do like Meghan. No disrespect, but there's ways and means to go about it. If you want to get out of the royal family, fine, by all means, get on your horse and follow on. But no need to cry out the royal family are racist. As we see in the media, they did have a black grenadier guard, and he's very, very happy in his job and never disrespected by the royal family. So I don't give myself credit for that. I give myself credit for asking the questions. But the reason the interview was what it was because they answered the way they did. Oprah also revealed she made a personal plea to the crew not to leak any details of the interview before it was shown on TV. She said, I remember when we finished doing the interview, and the interview was 3 hours and 20 minutes, I think. And I stood up and said to the crew, we all know that was said, we all know what was said here, and how important it was to have trust of the people who just shared that. And so I'm hoping you're all going into the world and share what has happened here and know what it did. And so as we are releasing clips to CBS, we're releasing them in such a way that whatever was being put out there could not be exploited. So a lot of time and effort and energy went into in on my part. Because obviously she didn't want to sound like she was on Prince Harry and Meghan's side, because you don't know what actually did happen behind closed doors. Are they doing it for like I say, a cry for help, a bit more support while they're no longer in the royal family? It doesn't matter if texts were leaked by Dominic Cummings. There are people running around the country. Going back to politics, before we get into nitty-gritty about the blog that has now been written moderately famous blogger Dominic Cummings, I would like to make a small request of you, the reader. I shouldn't really be necessary, but it was so very easy to forget because it's so very hard to believe. During the paragraphs that follow, I would like you to try and keep saying to yourself over and over again, just in a little widespread voice in your head, the following words: these are the people running the country. It should be easy enough. It has a certain rhythm to it, a bit like the passing train. These are the people running the country. These are the people running the country. If you're able to add in during a pandemic in which 1,500 people died, then feel free. But I appreciate it. It's really not easy. So then, the blog, or first, a bit of pre-blog background. 2 days ago, the BBC published some text message between Brexit loving UK abandoned vacuum cleaner magnate James Dyson and the Prime Minister, involving asking the Prime Minister to look at some tax rules for him over the manufacture of some ventilators that were never manufactured, and the Prime Minister agreed to do so. A day later, Boris Johnson is getting a lot of grief over all of this, and suddenly the newspapers are full of claims that if they have really, what matters is what's in them. The moderate with air right now. What with the possible red flags, over 3.7 billion worth of PPE contracts, and so on, and so on. But we will certainly do a distraction now and then. At 5 p.m. on Friday afternoon, 800 short words appear on a very niche website, DominicCummings.com. If you're still whispering these words to yourself, then we shall proceed. The claim that Mr. Cummings makes is the following: that A, he didn't leak the text message. B, he didn't had them to delete. C, he has been told by number 10, the staff, that other number 10 staff have been instructed to blame him for the leak, even though they knew it couldn't possibly be true. Keep whispering, we're not done yet. These are the people running the country. D, he's also been accused of leaking details of the imminent second lockdown last year. Find out who did leak the information that has been subject of an intensive internal inquiry. E, Boris Johnson allegedly knows that the person who did leak the incredibly sensitive information was another special advisor called Henry Newham. During a pandemic in which 150,000 people have died, F, the actual Prime Minister reportedly suggested he asked the head of the civil service to stop the inquiry because of Henry Newham his girlfriend's best friend. Where do you even start? Perhaps with the fact that it might very well not be true, but it also might be very well true. The actual Prime Minister trying to cancel an inquiry into who had damaged his own government because he didn't want to get his girlfriend in trouble. It is a truly mind-bending accusation. It might not be true, but then again, it very well might well be true. It's hard to say whether this most epic of shit shows is moving towards anything that might be considered a season final. But certainly, all of the Cummings plot lines at a present Puritan back to the start. He tried to undermine the Westminster media by bringing in TV press conferences, but the person hired to do so then got him sacked. He once claimed that he set up work of waiter spies in Westminster restaurants who would shop any government staff having lunch with a journalist, and then, what you do know, he named as the main leaker in Downing Street, now denied of course. But this one really is reverting all the way back to the beginning. It was 7 years ago that he wrote in the Times the problem with the country is that he selects its leaders exclusive from the pool of Oxbridge egomaniacs with the humanities degrees. And here he was with his BA in modern history from Oxford, looking as the Prime Minister. The Platonic ideal, as he loathed, didn't bother going to any meetings, didn't bother shocking down until he was far too late. And there he was, having a quiet word with the authorities, allegedly trying to get his girlfriend's mate off the hook. In some ways, naturally, Cummings was right. The problem with the country is exactly as he had diagnosed. It's more serious than imagined. The price that's been paid are almost incalculable, even if various statistical associations have indeed calculated it a million more years of human life lost. That it defies belief and almost certain proof that it's all true, that they really were, they really are, that execrable, that they really are running the country. That 150,000 people are really did die, and they are, and they can find themselves able to do this. Do is point their fingers and tap the keys, leak and breathe and tap out the blocks. I mean, there is COVID. A lot of people dying of COVID. A lot of people dying maybe because they made the wrong idea about coming out of lockdown. Are we coming out the wrong way out of lockdown again? We're going to go back into the system, which we're doing slightly. Is that the wrong way to come back over? Should hospitality sector still be shut down? That's what I'd like to know. Who are we to judge? We've got, we're critical thinkers, and these are supposed to be more critical thinkers than the likes of me and you. But my ideology says the worst way to catch COVID is to open up hospitality, because your immune system is down. People are having a drink. People, what drink does. Drink is the worst drug in the world. Alcohol is. We've all had a drink. We've all been drunk. We all know we don't take safety precautions. We don't take the measures lightly. We do as we please. We're drunk. We don't care. Our mind's taken by alcohol. We'll cuddle the next person that steps in. We'll shake hands with the next person that walks in. We'll kiss the next beautiful woman that lets us. And the next beautiful woman want to kiss the next handsome man that walks in. It's as simple. We're human. We're not inhumane. We're just human. It's how the human mind works. This is all what we want. We don't like to be lonely. And we want success in our lives. And having that beautiful companion is one of the ways that we think success works. When we've had a drink, there's not always a way. It's always business before pleasure. And this is Proclamation News and Gathering with the finest hour. Thank you all, ladies and gentlemen, for listening, subscribing, and hopefully sharing the class. Don't forget May the 6th election. I say it every day. It's Conservative government, neoliberalism government. You know, it is exactly what it says on the tin. I told you earlier. You know, it's a fair trade system, neoliberalism government, Conservative, have been triumphant for decades. Thank you all. Take care. God bless, and speak soon.